do it. That way you enjoy it and you're not such pain. Oh, yeah. I would get the biggest piece of the Oh, absolutely not. Oh, that's not how we think about it. It's okay. I'll be
on this side. Is that okay? I wanted to be so that I could be facing you. They was checking out the RV stuff. It's not RV stuff. What is it? AV, RV. Y'all know it.
Mary said she spent too much time with me and Andy already. She didn't want to.
No. I was just not willing to hit the ask for how much yard work I had to take to get it.
Hey,
What did you do about that?
I got
asking
one
about
screen. Stephen Coranda, our normal person that does all this, is out of town.
So Liz is heading for
Yeah, unfortunately.
Hey Hannah, did you ever watch that movie I told you to watch? Hannah and her sister. Shame on you.
I know. You need to tell me in like writing. You can text it to me.
I'll text her. I don't have your number. I'll text it to your father and pass it along. Ever watch Hannah and her sisters? It's a Woody Allen movie. Great movie. That's an oldie. But I can't believe, they put stuff on done in the 1980s and I think, oh, that was yesterday.
Watched the movie. You love this movie. I watched. Me and his sister was here over the weekend, and we watched a movie called "Going to Trip to Bountiful," or I think it's called "Trip to Bountiful." Oh. And it's about a woman who, lives in the South, and she wanted to
So
go back
you
to
were
the place
in
where she grew up.
Montana?
Living in a difficult situation with her son and
What was
a
exciting in
dog
Montana?
It's on. We found it on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime.
I think many years ago I saw it, but I haven't seen it.
It's a Geraldine
My only
Page.
time in
Geraldine
Montana
Page
was
is
coming
the
in
doctor.
from the north
There's
side.
And you done?
Broadway.
No, I don't want to steal it from you.
Anyway, I thought of you when I watched that show because I think you really enjoyed it.
Northern, central, southern. Floated a river. Oh, that's probably big in Montana.
We went to Yellowstone. One day. It's like a 80-mile drive. A lot of people fly in to go to Yellowstone. So we went to like Montana and the Wyoming side.
You went on Wyoming side. You're actually
Called in the pros. So, if I recall right, I think the population of Montana is less than metropolitan Oklahoma City.
about 500,000.
Don't have the sister work.
Yeah, I think it's less than a million. I remember driving through Wyoming once. We passed time. We said, how many miles between houses? How many miles between other vehicles? Very sparsely populated.
You went to Moab. That's awesome. I was in school there. I never know it. Always
I was thinking of you today, Karen, as I put $64 of gasoline.
I've had my car for about 3 weeks, and I've only gone 8 miles on gas. So we haven't gotten an electric bill yet, so we'll see. But I don't think it's gonna.
Well, that's cheap.
Do that at night.
You can go over to Dave's house and charge up.
Yeah, we started doing it on a 110, but yeah, we can.
No, he's got a solar. Yeah, we thought about a plug-in hybrid this time. Landed on a Hyundai and they weren't as experienced with plug-in.
So far, so good.
They give you any off the sticker when you buy it?
Yep. No, negotiated well, had all the backup information and do all the into the recorder, blah, blah, blah. He said, I like it when people come in and they have everything mapped out so that I know what I'm dealing with.
October 10th.
In Missouri?
Yeah, we'll go to Kansas City. We. I'm still recovering from our last trip. I love those rooms. Palmer House. You could have had mine and Mary's wardrobe twice over in the closet we had. You could play basketball in the room. What? Yeah.
PhD, yeah. Oh, okay. Yep.
Oklahoma population.
Good afternoon, Norman Rotary. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome, Rotarians and guests. Let's go ahead and take our moment of silence to reflect or pray. Okay, thank you. Today, our flag salute is going to be done by John Curtis. And then Steve Moore will have our four-way text. Will it be beneficial let's go ahead and introduce some of our guests today. First we have Millie Eubanks, and your guest.
Okay, she's basically a member now. Every time I get in the car to go to Rotary, she just rolls in, and today my car's in the shop, so she has my baby. So, we just need to get her on the roster. She has it. Amy. So, I thought y'all knew her by now. Amy England, she works in her office, and, we're just glad to have her.
I think she has requested an application. I'll be emailing that to her this afternoon. Yay, we love that. Okay, and then Kyle Curley has our next guest.
Okay, I'm pleased. This is Tom Hollingsworth, and so Tom's been in Norman for quite some time, and so in addition to Kristen, who is also in scouting, so he is the third leg, actually I'm the third leg, he's the first leg of our trio, and so he's very involved with scouting and everything, so glad to have Tom.
Very good.
Thank you guys for both being here. We're so happy to have you. A few announcements today. The Tour de Vin sponsorships are still just a wee bit away from reaching that goal. We do want to make sure that we make good on our commitment to bridges and to continue to help the wonderful projects that all four Rotary clubs in Norman participate in. We do also have the golden tickets are up and available on the website. It is www.latourdevin.org. Those are $100 golden tickets. We only sell 100 of them, so you have a wonderful chance to win a choice of 5 vacations. One of them includes a concert at the Sphere and a hotel in Vegas, and there's many other things to choose from. The rest of the silent auction and live auction items should be going up in the next week, so please feel free to take a look at that and see what you might want to bid on. And tickets are for sale on the website as well. Okay. Well, I think we are ready to get started with our speakers, Lynn. So Lynn's going to come up here and introduce.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to make introductions of members of our club today. Andy Rieger, Dave Sabatini, Bob Dauffenbach. And of course, we all know them as our friends and members of our club. And I won't repeat detailed but very impressive bios, since each of them have been speakers of our club before on other topics of their very impressive expertise. But I will do just a brief introduction related to their expertise as bike riders. They also have some guests that I assume they will introduce for us when they're up here. They have some family supporters that are with them here today. So, first of all, did you ride in an echelon and draft from the domestique? Was your ride ripping your legs off to be king of the mountain, or did you float? And at the end of the day, were you bonking and chewing the handlebars? Now, obviously nobody knows all those riding terms. Or maybe
You've been watching the Tour de France.
So do you know the definition of bonking? That's such a good word. It means you lost all your energy, or you hit the wall. And chewing the handlebars, that means suffering. The domestique is the front of the group, and you drag behind the domestique. And the echelon is a long line to protect from the wind. And riding your legs, ripping your legs off, well, you probably can figure that one out. So the main question is, where are you riding next? Please welcome our Route 66 riders, the Three Musketeers, or Larry, Curly, and Moe. Our friends from Rotary.
much. We're happy to be here. We just happen to wear our same shirts today. I'm not sure how that happened. But remember when you were a kid and your family went on vacation and then came back and your dad got the slides developed, he invited all your neighbors over and he hung a sheet up and you hated that? Well, get over it because you're going to do it again. So. Anyway, we'd like to introduce Francis Sabatini and Karen Rieger, and then our daughter Hannah Rieger, who's actually a Rotarian in the new club. So they're here and they've supported us throughout the ride. So our youngest grandson had a problem boasting about things. He could do everything the best, and everything was about him, and so our son came up with a brag-o-meter. So if you start bragging, you do this. So Charlie Nicholson, if we start bragging, I want you to do this, because this is about the road, not about us. Okay. That's your job today. So this was our motto for our ride. Men desire a battle to fight, a beauty to rescue, and an adventure to live. So we're too old to fight anybody, and our spouses don't need rescuing. They're pretty self-sustained. But we did need an adventure. This was after COVID, and we needed something to do. And this started out because 3 people from the Netherlands showed up at my house in convertibles looking for a bed and breakfast similar to the name of our street. And they were driving, they flew from the Netherlands to Chicago, rented cars, and were driving across the country on Route 66. And so Dave and I told Dave that, and we said, you know, if they're that interested in this history of this road, maybe we should become interested. So we started riding one state became 2, 2 became 3, and then 3 became 8. So we figured one state at a time we could pass. Do you have a clicker there? Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's not us. Keep going. So here we are on the Pony Bridge out west of Gary, Oklahoma. Thought this was a good scenario to do that, okay? So here's the route. Most of you know that. It's in the news all the time now. Everyone's jumping on the Route 66 bandwagon. I'm just glad we did it before they all got on there. So, from Chicago to the Santa Monica Pier. So our trip took us from the Santa Monica Pier in California to Navy Pier in Chicago, which is where our spouses were with the banner when we rolled up. And for some reason, there were people all around taking pictures, thinking we're some kind of celebrities rolling in. It was pretty cute. So, like a good engineer, Dave chronicled everything and measured everything.
So there's going to be a quiz on this table at the end of the session. So this is, we started in June of 2021, and as Andy said, our initial goal was just to do Oklahoma. And so we did that day trips at a time in 2021, 2022. And then we said, well, let's do our neighboring states. And so then it grew from there. So this is progression from June 21 to May of 26 as we worked our way west and then east. We did 1,950 miles and 39 days of cycling over the course of almost 5 years, averaging about 50 miles per day. So that was our trek. And here's just, you'll notice some of these distances are different. We did, in Oklahoma, 449 miles. We didn't do the 487 miles in New Mexico because you had to ride on the interstate to do a bunch of those miles. And we determined our rights encouraged us not to ride on the interstate. So, this is Bob.
Thank you. I was hoping to get out of any work here and just fulfill my general job as eye candy for the group. But unfortunately, Andy's been very well impressed with my willingness to stay out of work, so he assigned me some slides here. So to talk about the Mother Road, I want to go even back a little bit further to 1919, when Lieutenant Colonel Eisenhower led a cross-the-nation transcontinental like 6 miles an hour. So anyway, we're looking at the final road, number 66, being assigned in 1926 by a Tulsa businessman, was very active in making sure that this happened. And as we said, we got over 2,400 miles across the state. But it's interesting, this national defense notion of the road, because Eisenhower, and of course, seeing the Autobahn in Germany, came back to America in the 1950s, put through the notices National Defense Highway Act. And everything was in the National Defense Education Act, everything was in the National Defense kind of mode. And essentially what he did in establishing this interstate system, and you can imagine what that has meant and how we've seen it develop in our lifetimes. But one point I want to make here is that private investment follows public investment. And what we see, and I just looked up some statistics for Gallup, New Mexico, and Tucumcari. Gallup, New Mexico's population from 1930 to 1940, it wasn't really until 1938 that the main road, Portland-Ford Main Road, was fully established. Their population went up 18% between 1930 and 1940, 30%, 1940 to 1950, 54%. And this is all the while the nation was growing at 7 to 15%. Tucumcari went from 50%, doubled from 1930 to 1940, and went up another 36% by 1950. So we're looking here, and let's move to, yes. So that's what I want to cover there, and that's the economic development side of what the roads have meant. Cruising, let's go on the next slide. So this is at the Lake Overholster, right? This is a nice memorial to Route 66. Cruising isn't easy. See on the next slide, in Oklahoma, of course, much of the road has been replaced, and just like in Illinois, we could find little patches in some of the small towns, make little strips out of old Route 66 area. But we've been pretty much taken over by the interstate highway system, and that has been important for us. So Oklahoma, we still had a lot of miles, and of course there's a lot of development, and a lot of Route 66 outside of Tulsa is 4-lane anyway, so we had nice shoulders to ride with.
Yeah, Oklahoma was really pretty kind to us. There's shoulders on much of the roads, and there's not a lot of traffic on the western part of the state, so it's pretty easy to do that. So go ahead. So northeast, Miami, Commerce, Oklahoma, we tried to sort of research the people that were from each of the towns we went to. So Miami, Steve Owens, Commerce, Oklahoma, Mickey Mantle, Eric, Oklahoma, Roger Miller. We tried to look up and think about the people that lived in these communities when we went through there. And we also noticed in all the small towns on Route 66, there were generally 3 things: marijuana dispensaries, Dollar General stores, and at least 1 Baptist church. Probably more like 2, because they had to get somebody to get mail at and move it up. So we all had roles in our trip, and we got to know each other pretty well, as you can imagine. Bob, the economist, was also our foodie, so he researched and told us where we need to eat each day. And Dave was our navigator and engineer, and he figured out the weather, the highways, turn left, turn right, all of that. And my job was to kind of keep that in line and and chronicle what we're doing. So if you want a longer version of this, I can send it to you. So if you notice here, Bob, just like Rotary, several starches everywhere. He couldn't decide which kind of pie to get, so he just ordered both. You know, get both of them. No big deal. Okay, one more. And we also figured out early on that we weren't very good at selfies. And you see, I think that's Bob taking the picture instead over there.
I wanted to make sure I was in it.
Yeah, that's a good one, Nelson. But after a while, we figured out how to do this selfie thing, and so we got all three of us kind of in the sort of did that. So. Okay, so one more. After we conquered eastern Oklahoma, we went west, and we did Clinton, Oklahoma. This was a former Rotarian Mentee rode with us, part of the route. And out in Clinton, Oklahoma, there's a great museum for Route 66. Most of the little towns had some type of memorial to Route 66. And they also, you saw that one picture where we were at the Will Rogers Museum in Claremore. A lot of the highway in Oklahoma is called the Will Rogers Highway.
So being a civil engineer, I was interested in the transportation, pavements, and so here we see some remnants of what was formerly part of Route 66, along with current Route 66. And in places we would see before the interstate where Route 66 even became 4 lanes, and they abandoned 2 of them, and then looked like this, and maintained 2 of them for local traffic. So the road was, we found that at times we would see 3 generations of transportation. We'd see railroads, then we'd see Route 66, and then we'd see the interstate just right next to each other. And so that's, sometimes we would see 100 passes where the school children wouldn't have to cross busy Route 66. They could go underneath and get to the other side. And now those roads are not so heavily traveled. Formerly these were some of these, what became Route 66 at times were former state highways, former Ozark trails, and they kind of piecemealed some of these things together to form Route 66. It started off with 18-foot roads in the 20s, they went to 20-foot roads in the 30s, and by our standards, 2 lanes of interstate are 24-foot with wonderful 10-foot shoulders. We would have loved to have 10-foot shoulders where we were riding. And
so here we are in Eric, Oklahoma, and everybody know the song King of the Road. We couldn't get that out of our head. We played it. And so Eric, Oklahoma is one of those towns that the interstate passed by and there's just not much there anymore. They're still proud of Roger Miller though. This was, we also noticed that in David Bob figured that the road grading is a lot better now than it was back then. So this is a section of Route 66, and right next door was 40, it was just flat. But this was like a really troubling hill for us. And we had our share of kind of health challenges along the way, because you know, we're 3 old guys riding in the heat. And one ambulance driver said to us, "How old are you?" Bob. Bob told him how old he was. Dave and I are the same age, we told him. And she said, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah, that was the day we probably shouldn't have gone out. So anyway, this is, you know, people talk about the nostalgia of the highway and everything. Sadly, a lot of it looks like this, because there's abandoned buildings, motels, gas stations. Some of them have been repurposed and done that, but a lot of the road looks similar to this along the way. This is an example of one that has been repurposed. This is Lucille's. It was an old gas station restaurant outside Weatherford, Oklahoma. It's a great photo stop. You see a lot of people taking pictures out there when they do it. So some people ask us, How much did you drink along the way? Well, we consumed about a liter of fluid, either Gatorade or Pedialyte. We found a Pedialyte for kids is good to drink, or water, about a liter an hour. We have a sag wagon, which is a driver that goes ahead of you or behind you and picks up. Bob's wife, Mary, who we never referred to as a sag driver, she was our helper for, I think, 4 of the states. So very, very great. Most of the drivers in Oklahoma, at least, were respectful. We didn't have too many problems. We had one guy in Tulsa point his car and drive toward us. But I think Dave could have taken him. He didn't have that. He had trouble getting out of the cars chasing us. So anyway. Weatherford is a thriving, some of these places are thriving little towns. Weatherford, El Reno, Elk City, these are actually towns that are on the interstate too, but they're also, Route 66 is their main street. Okay.
So being the civil engineer, I always enjoyed structural aspects of the ride. Like here I am instructing on how to design a bridge, the steel members of a bridge, and the great interest was displayed in my lectures at this point in time. So we each had our roles. Here we are on the famous Bummy Bridge. This is actually well known on Route 66 in Oklahoma between Bridgeport and New Gary. 4,000 feet long, 38 arches, and you can see the unique structure here. And they actually just renovated this in anticipation of the centennial of the Mother Road. Anybody recognize where this is? Oklahoma City, north end of Oberholson. So that's where this picture is taken, yeah. I think now is,
So here we are in Yukon, our favorite son Garth Brooks, and lots of railroad crossing, and really a very pleasant, flat part of the ride. And here we are making fun of Bobby again. that was a nice backup. That was a nice banana split there. That's a sign. And Sid Zungenberger, yes, need to mention that. Here's the group of us that were feasting there, and as you can see, our very happy SAG driver, Larry Free.
So now we go back east, and on this particular leg, we joined up with an organized ride coming out of Edmond as part of the Route 66 annual ride. And so they weren't doing these balloons just for us, it was for the larger group riding. And anybody recognize the picture on the left? Round bar, and just outside Arcadia, and here's our group at the beginning of the Route 6060 ride with Chip Mintigan and Gary Miller, a couple of locals. We saw some famous sights along the way. Here we have in the Rock Cafe in Stroud, and actually motivated a series built on this. So we were able to ride past that. We saw old motels, we saw former modes of transportation, the carriage here, and as Andy mentioned before, we saw a lot of Dollar Generals. And this little town might not have a McDonald's or such, but they would often, many of them had Dollar Generals. Yet another bridge here in Sapulpa area, and this actually predated Route 66. It was part of the Ozark Trail, but then was incorporated into Route 66, and later another bridge was built. And here you can see the railroad bridge right next to it, and the Interstate 44 is over here. So you see the multiple generations of transportation.
I think this is the cafe in Stroud, maybe something. Actually, cafe. So in Tulsa, they have it's kind of a sculpture or statue to Route 66 to the founder. As Bob said, Cyrus Avery is considered the founder of Route 66, and it's called East Meets West. Yeah, so you have the horse-drawn wagon on the left and a car on the right. So it's the two of them kind of met there. And so we were there, and Dave and I saw this other cyclist. I guess he was a cyclist, and so he was a young guy. So we asked him to come over and take our picture, and he asked what we were doing. And so here's the braggometer, Charlie. We said, we're riding Route 66 across the state. And so he said, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I just rode my bike across Europe. He was quite a bit younger, had more hair and insurance and things like that. So we did have breakdowns along the way. Unfortunately, we brought our engineer with us who could fix things, and Bob could figure out what it costs to fix things and those deals. So anyway, bike shops along the way are a blessing. We found 2 or 3 of them that really helped us out along the way, and they were always, willing. We went in one about 10 minutes before they closed, and they fixed them. We stayed at the Campbell House in Tulsa, which is an old, restored motel right there on 11th Street, I think, which is Route 66 in Tulsa. And of course, we had to go to the Blue Whale, which has kind of become a great symbol of Route 66 these days. This was an 80-foot concrete whale that a guy built for his wife as an anniversary gift. It kind of set the bar pretty high. And here we are ending up with Will Rogers. A lot of Will Rogers references along the way. And this was in Claremore. And then we had champagne at the end of Oklahoma because we thought that's all we were going to do. But then, we never talked about the next ride when we finished the first one. And our analogy was, it's like when your wife has a baby, you don't go in the room and say, let's talk about another one. You let it sit for a little while. So anyway, I think you're talking about Texas. Okay, so we went.
Where's the midpoint of the ride, Andy?
Midpoint is in Adrian, Texas. And it's 1,139 miles to Santa Monica from Adrian, Texas. And it's 1,139 miles to Chicago. So this is a midpoint. And trust me, they are milking this. This is a photo op all over the internet. People go there. There's a great little cafe there that we went to twice, I guess we went there. And the Texans, they had this odd practice of burying old cars. So they buried Volkswagens, they buried Cadillacs, and then on the left, this is the U-drop in Shamrock, Texas, kind of close to the border. They also like to do funny things with their old trucks and things like that. We met one other cyclist along the way, and he was riding the whole way.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We didn't see cars very often. Fortunately, most of them and trucks were on the interstate parallel to us. But we did look off for a distance. That could be a cyclist coming towards us, and sure enough, they're coming the opposite direction. We met up, and he was from Alaska, and he'd flown to Chicago and shipped his bike to Chicago, and he was riding from Chicago and doing the Mother Road, and we were met up in the panhandle of Texas. So we stopped and had a little conversation. It was kind of fun to meet up with him along the way.
He was about 5'7" too.
Yeah. Our accommodations, you might wonder, did we sleep in tents? No. We stayed at bed and breakfast, vintage motels, hotels, and even some nice places along the way.
Let me mention in regard to this. I had the advantage that they're always deferring to the old guy on the trip. So in this mammoth house out of the 1880s, who knows when it was first built, there's this giant bedroom with a bed you can sleep 6 across easily, and a bathroom that sort of had the tub sitting in the middle of the room, just a huge room. So deferring to the old guy damages on our trip. But David got the maids' quarters.
My bike would barely fit in the room.
Yeah, people kept saying, should we wake up your dad? Should we go get him?
That was just south of Amarillo.
And when you're in Amarillo, where do you need to stop and eat? Yeah, so we went and ate, and none of us tackled the 72-ounce steak. We're not on the board, but between the four of us, I don't even think we reached 72 ounces.
So after Texas, we went to New Mexico. We did, here we are in Tucumcari, the Blue Small Inn, which was a great example of a roadside inn that's been repurposed and just a beautiful old place. You see this on the right is the El Rancho, which was in Gallup, New Mexico. We stayed there twice, actually, when we did Arizona and we did New Mexico. That's the dining room. It had all modern things, see the modern TV, the modern telephone. We even had to get up to change the TV. Imagine that, having to get up. And my favorite sign on the trip was 4 drinks per person. Trust me, if we had 4 drinks per person, we wouldn't have been riding very far. This is Arizona. Bob, you want to talk about Arizona? Okay. So Arizona, it was beautiful there. Here we are at the border, crossing in there. And here we are in Arizona. What do? We stand on the corner. Bob and I, Dave and I gave this talk at a retirement home the other day, and no one knew what we were talking about. I think they couldn't hear us. So this is at Grand Canyon, Arizona. They had dinosaurs there. We thought it was near the Grand Canyon. It's about 100 miles away from the Grand Canyon. Here we are, another breakdown. Flat tires, you figure out how to fix them. It's not that big a deal. So then we went to California. Great contrast right across California. Los Angeles, urban area, stoplight every 100 yards, just crazy. Like clipping in and out our pedals, our ankles were sore that night from doing that. So here we are at the Santa Monica Pier. Our son was our SAC driver in California, and we started about 5 a.m., much to Bob's chagrin. So.
But they said it was 7 in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So here we are at the pier. There's some California. They obviously have vintage gas stations. Dave will tell you why there were so many gas stations on Route 66.
So you look these things up, a Model T, read it, it has a 10-gallon tank, it goes 10 miles per gallon, so that's 100 miles to go on a full tank. So you need the gas stations more than every 100 miles. But now, go 400 plus miles, so a lot of gas stations became defunct. So pavement, again, this isn't a shadow, this is a hole in the road where water washed out the pavement. That's why the barrier was saying no cars, no bicycles. That didn't deter us. We went around, we saw the original McDonald's in Roy. We had 50 miles of the desert, and so we had to pack extra water because we knew we weren't going to have 50 miles of no additional water. And Patrick was our SAG driver this stretch, and so we went back and let Patrick have his anniversary with his wife, and we had a day off before we commenced our ride again, so we're thankful for that.
So then we came back after we did the western part and did Kansas. Kansas only got 13 miles of the highway. It's up there, Commerce, Oklahoma, so they didn't get very much. Here we are in Kansas, and that's the famous Rainbow Bridge on there. And a lot of little towns have murals. And one thing about Kansas is we got chased by a pack of bulldogs, wild dogs, and Bob got bit, his shoe. It didn't break the skin, but it broke his boot. So our motto after that was, we don't have to be faster than dogs, just faster than Bob. So then we got to Missouri, the Ozarks, trying to get through here. Missouri, the Ozarks, you can imagine a lot of hills. It was really a tough test. Sometimes we ate with our spouses who were there, which was a lot of fun. Sometimes we had guests to go with us. Here we are in Illinois, made it to Illinois. We wore our shirts to pizza one night, and we were celebrities in the pizza house.
So you recognize this scene here in the upper right corner? St. Louis, and so we're crossing over across the iconic Chain of Rocks Bridge into my home state of Illinois. And of course, if you're in Illinois, what do you look for? Lincoln. So here we are in Lincoln, Illinois, Lincoln statue, the Lincoln home in Springfield, the depot where he departed to become president, his law office, and now we're in Chicago, and this is the iconic water tower and survived the Great Chicago Fire. And here we have more Lincoln. Here we are between Pontiac and Joliet, and happened to be riding on a weekend when they were celebrating Route 66, and so every little town had a band and a festival, and we thought it was for us, and found out it wasn't.
So here we are at the end. Our spouses were there, had a banner greeting us, and it was a really great time. We learned a lot about our country. We learned a lot about each other and perseverance, and we encourage you to get on the road and get off the interstate, get on those blue highways. You'll see a different side of America. I think you'll appreciate that. Thank you all.
Does anyone have any questions for them? I think we just have a minute or two left. Okay, Charlie.
Andy?
You're not getting away that easily.
So this is a question for each of you. What was your favorite part of the ride?
The shower.
Individual shout.
My favorite part of the ride, and all the rides, was riding with these guys. I had just a very distinct opportunity to make deeper friendships with these guys, and I remember when we were talking to Mary, my wife actually ran 4 of our rides. She ran the sag wagon on 4 of our rides, and I told them to begin with, and that when they met Mary on these trips, that they had to be their most irascible, disagreeable, troublesome, irritable guys, because I didn't want her to have a different standard. and then I went home and I finally confessed to Mary that I'd said that, and she said, "It's too late."
Well, and I think many things, not a single answer to that, but it was fun in Lebanon. We went to Lebanon and Cuba and Missouri all on one trip. Lebanon, Missouri, Cuba, Missouri, and in Lebanon, Missouri, we met a group from New Zealand who had flown from New Zealand to Chicago, and they rented Chargers, Dodge Chargers, and they're driving. And so we just had a great time visiting with them and getting to know them and hearing about their impressions and our impressions. It's really...
I like getting the knowledge from these guys. For example, El Cajon Pass from San Bernardino up through the desert and the mountains of California. I learned from Dave that it's the same distance down the road as it is up the road. So it's okay if your sag driver takes you to the top of the road and you come back down, because you've gone the same distance, right?
Okay, Ron.
What did that cost you guys financially?
I'm still paying.
Real quickly, the biggest cost was obviously lodging, because we tried to stay in vintage motels. So we went from some that were $35 a night, which we used a flashlight to find things moving on the bed, to the Palmer House in Chicago, where we stayed on our final when we finally got there. So we tried to stay in places that were iconic and historic. You get on the interstate and you stay at the same Days Inn or whatever, and everything's the same hamburger and Poughkeepsie as you get in Atlanta. So get off the highway, stay in those little places.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm so sorry the retirees missed the funny parts of that speech. It was very good. Excellent job. Just a few reminders. We have August 23rd and August 22nd and 23rd. We have a book fair coming up. Latour event is on August 22nd. New member orientation will be August 27th. And then I do want to thank Tom, Amy, Mary, and Karen for being here. Thank you so much. And you all are free to go for today.
Well done, gentlemen.
Good job. That was great. Right on target.
A lot of slides.
And Holly will be a lot more relaxed. An hour and a half.
That was great. Thank you all.
Thanks for letting us do that.
Yes.
So I want to know, did you pull over and go in the bush, or did you?
In Texas,
We had a variety of things.
Or did you catheterize? Or did you go 100 miles?
You couldn't stop. We had to stop 3 times before he found outside in Cicero.
Cicero, outside Chicago.
Outside of
Gas station didn't have restrooms. Did they stay open? They have bars on the. There is a place in California. They didn't want to stop them. That's the TVs. So we had to go to a Dunkin' because they had to give us a